Hey guys, the Magic Keyboard is here. So in today's video, I'm gonna give you a short review and we're going to see how it works with the iPad Pro and if the iPad Pro can really substitute your computer. Starting off, the Magic Keyboard has a floating design that allows you to attach the iPad Pro magnetically and smoothly adjust it to the viewing angle that you prefer. In my opinion, the keyboard is really well made and the floating design turns it into a more modern device. Also, the magnets are really strong, so the iPad is always secure and it's not in risk of falling off of it, without mentioning that it also works as a case. The only downside, at least for me, is that there's not plenty of viewing angles available. There's a limit. So it could bother you depending on how you decide to use the iPad. Also, it ends up being a little bit uncomfortable to draw or write with the Apple Pencil because the ideal thing to do would be to remove it from the keyboard and hold it, which removes any possibility of protection from the case. Besides, I was surprised with how heavy this thing is. It ends up being heavier than the actual iPad. The 11-inch keyboard weighed 601 grams and the 11-inch iPad Pro weighs 470 grams. Now, the 12.9-inch keyboard weighed 710 grams and the bigger iPad weighed 641 grams. So the combined weight of the iPad Pro plus the Magic Keyboard ends up being only 200 grams less than a MacBook Air, and the bigger version 61 grams heavier than the MacBook Air. I know that one of the reasons for that is because the keyboard's weight needs to counterbalance with the iPad's weight, but you need to take into consideration that an iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard will weigh the same as a laptop. The Magic Keyboard is really well made, the material looks and feels premium with a velvety touch, but unfortunately, it's not a material that looks like new for a long time. It shows sign of wear extremely fast. But now, let's talk about the most important aspect of it. The keyboard itself has a similar scissor mechanism as the 16-inch MacBook Pro, responds extremely well, and I enjoy typing on it. It also has backlit keys, which are great for when we're typing in the dark, and in general, it really makes writers' lives easier. The cons, in my opinion, are the lack of shortcuts, like the escape key and the options to change the display's brightness, because you need to go into the settings to change that. Another important feature is the addition of the trackpad that allows you to use a cursor and multi-touch gestures on the iPad. I have to say that that is extremely convenient. Also, the trackpad is physical, so it really clicks when you press it, different than what we see on the MacBooks. Overall, the keyboard and trackpad use is really intuitive and can remind us of using a MacBook. Regarding battery, the keyboard is fed by the iPad Pro through the smart connector, so it doesn't have a battery built in. It also has a USB-C port for pass-through charging, so you can charge the iPad while using the keyboard. However, the downside is that you cannot use the port for any other accessories. It only works for charging. Now, I was curious to know if it was comfortable to use the iPad on my lap, and I have to say that I particularly didn't love the experience. I don't like that the weight is not mainly on the base as it is on a MacBook, and it actually is towards the top because of the iPad itself. In my opinion, it's a lot better to use the MacBook, and as I'm talking about that, I also believe it's a lot easier and more elegant to open a MacBook. You need to use both hands to open the Magic Keyboard almost 100% of the times, and it's really weird and annoying. And before I forget, don't worry if you own the 2018 iPad Pro, because the Magic Keyboard is compatible with the 11-inch iPad Pro 1st and 2nd generation and the 12.9 iPad Pro 3rd and 4th generation. But in conclusion, is it worth it? The iPad Pro can really substitute a computer. Well, considering all the features and considering that the smaller version costs $299, it can be worth it if you're a user that needs to type a lot on the iPad, don't see the need to own a MacBook, and really uses the tablet for everything. However, this is really not a price that everybody would love to pay for it, right? But the million question is, can the iPad substitute a computer? Well, yes. Depending on your use, the Magic Keyboard is definitely the best iPad accessory. But in my opinion, No. If I had to choose between an iPad Pro with a Magic Keyboard or a MacBook, I would still go with the MacBook. Even though the iPad has the convenience to be a tablet and to work similar to a computer, and the MacBook can only be a computer, the iPad still cannot do everything that a computer does, and I cannot live with those limitations. But this was the video about the Magic Keyboard. Please let me know down below what you think about it, if you like it, if you don't like it, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.